Now, I don't know what is going on in Nigeria because according to Open Doors, 72% of Christians murdered is from Nigeria. Now, that statistic is crazy. Now, I'm hearing now that Trump is thinking seriously about getting involved to find out what is happening. I don't know what he can do, but any help that can come from anywhere would be good. So I'm going to switch the screen and go to Raj from CBN News. I love listening to Raj because he always talks sense. We're going to switch and hear what Raj actually has to say about this.
With the world's focus shifting to places like Iran and Davos and Minneapolis, the savage genocide against Christians in Nigeria continues day after day. Well, Alex Barbir of Building Zion joins us live from Nigeria. Alex, you just sent me some gruesome photos. You've seen this thing up close and personal. What's happening in Nigeria right now?
Yeah, there was a lot of attention in October, November, even moving to December. But it's kind of a fad, 1 month, 2 month, people are on it, and all of a sudden it's quiet. And the reality is that it's getting worse. It hasn't changed. I was just actually at a funeral in Kuru of Plateau State. They killed 7 Christians. And I was able to speak at the funeral for just a few minutes to be able to make sure that the truth is told. And I just visited in Kwande, an area called Jato Aka. And we went to Turan village, a place where not even the Nigerian government has gone. No white person, no Nigerian government, and thousands and thousands have been both killed and displaced. And these people can't even go back to their home. You literally go into the bush, you go into the forest, you go into these places, and you see house after house after house, completely desolate. Nobody is there. And they were forcibly removed. They were killed, they were burned, they were flushed out of their ancestral lands. And the Fulani terrorists have completely taken over. And if these people even try to go back, let's say they don't even want to try to go home to live there, only to maybe use a little bit of land to farm, they're killed. In fact, one of the guys that I met with, his father was killed 2 months ago in this very place that we went to. He tried to go back just to farm, just to figure out how can I just farm some food. And he was killed by Fulani for doing that. And we went into this place where the government hasn't even gone to actually see it with our own eyes and to be able to make sure that the truth is told, that this isn't just something that there's a little bit of hype for a month or two and everybody forgets and moves on. This hasn't changed for 2 decades. And so when will it change? When is enough enough? And when will the world speak up to what's happening and take action?
Watch what bread does to your diet goals.
They're lying to you about whole wheat bread.
Carry on watching.
Well, Alex, I think you're in such a unique position. Obviously, you're an American, and so you're able to kind of bridge the cultural divide, bridge the thousands and thousands of miles divide, and make it more tangible, I think, for a lot of folks. Obviously, you don't have kids. You're able to do some pretty, I guess the word is risky things and going to some places that the average Joe can't go. But you sent me some photos, and this isn't new, actually. I've seen for months now, it seems like on a weekly basis, just the most graphic of images you can possibly imagine. You show me images of, and this isn't 1 or 2 or 10 or 100. I get these photos on a daily basis. And so
I've got to admit, I don't want to see the photos. The photos must be horrible. And I know the way that they are killing over there, stabbing, chopping off heads, doing all sorts, and, we have to just pray, people, because this is bad.
I know it's late in Nigeria, and I know that you're frustrated, but let me ask you this one last question. Well, a two-parter. One, is there any other details you want to give us? But then my main question is, what do you say to people that are downplaying the idea that there's a genocide against specifically Christians in Nigeria?
Yeah, the reality is that the Nigerian government and even Christian leaders, such as governors, have been rejecting, not all of them, but a large amount of the ones who are supposed to be dishing out justice and standing up for the oppressed are rejecting it. even Christians. I mean, the governor of Benue State, they have millions of IDPs. We're here in Yawata rebuilding the village where almost 300 were killed. 1,000 fighters came in and they burned everything. They haven't done anything. And so we're here rebuilding that village. And the own governor rejects it. They say, oh, there's no genocide. There's nothing religious. There's nothing ethnic. It's just general insecurity. Oh, they're killing everybody. And to that I ask, how many Fulani people have been killed? How many Fulani villages have been burned down? And if it's only about just taking over some land or some resources or having better grazing land for cattle, that means that anybody who has cattle is competition for the Fulani. And that means their own people are competition for themselves. And so in that light, how many Fulani have been killing each other for grazing land or for materials or resources? None. They're targeting Christian villages, Christian people. The Fulani are not killing themselves. They aren't being killed really by other people unless it's a revenge attack. And so the truth needs to be told. Nothing will change unless the truth is known, admitted, and then acted upon. And so we can't just let this be a fad where we talk about it for a month, we do one bombing and we say, oh, we've changed the world, we're good. We need attention, we need action, we need funds, we need international pressure. We need people to stand up for truth. And especially to proclaim Christ. Because the reality is that as Christians, we're called to stand up for justice. We're called to stand up for the oppressed. We're called to stand up for the needy, the afflicted. This is what Psalm 82 says. It's not just something that we think about or pray about. It's something that we're called to literally go and do. You cannot divide being a Christian and serving justice and standing up for people. It doesn't mean that if you stand for justice, you're an activist. No. You're a Christian. You're called to stand up for these people. And it's time that we do that. It's time we stand up for truth. We tell it, we act, we pray, we give, we go, we minister, we share the gospel, and we dish out justice. You know, this is why governments were even instituted to begin with. You know, they're supposed to be the ones who stand up, who make sure that justice is served, who the poor, the needy, the ones who are afflicted, that they're protected. They're not forgotten, they're not forsaken. That's what the government is supposed to do. And when the government does not do that, we're supposed to be the ones to say, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And to make sure that that truth is told. And so we can't forget Nigeria. We can't forget what is happening because it's even worse.
So Alex, you're on the ground and you're saying this isn't slowing down. If anything, it actually is ramping up. What do you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the truth. I mean, just a few days ago in Kaduna, they kidnapped around 150 Christian students. I mean, every day that I'm here, I'm getting texts and messages of attacks in Plateau, attacks in Benue, attacks in Katsina, attacks in Taraba, Adamawa, literally all the time. I mean, even when I was on my way to this Jatawaka place in Kwande, people were just killed. I mean, even when we were literally in that village, there were actually Fulani people who were burning the grass around some homes that were desolate, not too far from us. You could see the smoke rising, and nobody's living there. It's the Fulani people. And so nothing is really changing. You know, the reality is one bomb in the Northwest is not going to do anything, because the reality is that the actual official terrorist groups such as Boko Haram and ISWAP, they are not the primary perpetrators, not the primary people who are killing Christians. It's the Fulani terrorists, the Fulani militias. They're the ones all across Nigeria, from the south to the north, from the west to the east. They're the ones who are primarily massacring, burning, and literally cutting people in pieces. It's not the actual official terrorist groups. Yes, they are killing both Christians and Muslims in Borno State, some in Adamawa, Taraba, Yobe, in Sokoto. And so they are killing, they are burning, they're doing these things. But those are more so limited to that specific state and even just portion of that state. It's not necessarily widespread. The widespread is the Fulani terrorists and militias that are killing Christians en masse. That is the truth. And I plead with the US government, I plead with international communities to recognize that. It's the Fulani terrorists that are across these communities, across Nigeria. That's the truth.
Well, Alex, I think what you're doing is incredibly important. You're building a tunnel for maybe folks in the West to have a more tangible reality of what's happening. You know, I'm so frustrated myself, and I'm over here in California. I'm just doing these reports over and over and over and over again. But you're actually on the ground. You're doing something about it. You're rebuilding homes. You're rebuilding communities. Building Zion is the organization. Alex Barbir is the man. We're going to obviously have to have you back on, my friend. Stay safe out there and continue, shining a light in a very dark place. Alex, I appreciate your time, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Let's switch the screen. First of all, I'd just like to say that young man who was in Nigeria, we have to continue praying for him because he's doing a dangerous job as well. And the way that he's speaking, the enemy is not going to like it. So we have to keep him in our prayers and keep Raj in our prayers also for reporting this craziness that is actually happening in Nigeria. And what they said was that even the Christians are not helping. Could you believe that? Even the Christians are not helping. And it seems like they got a muzzle over their mouth. Why they are not talking, I don't know. But it seems like the enemy has muzzled them. Now, when the enemy muzzles you and you're not speaking and you're not praying and you're not praising, you lose your confidence. And that's what the enemy wants you to do. He wants Christians to lose their confidence so that they will just sit down day to day and don't say nothing. Now, people, we need to be praying, not just for Raj and that young man that was talking. We need to be praying for the persecuted Christians in Nigeria. We need to be praying that Trump will do something about it, and we need to be praying as well for our government in the UK to do something. They haven't said a word. They haven't said a word about it. I heard nothing from Starmer or whatever his name is in the UK. I haven't heard him say nothing about this crazy madness and the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. Listen, I ain't gonna talk no more. I'm gonna let you guys talk now. Put it in the comment section. You got anything to say about the madness that is going in Nigeria, or any ideas of what can be done? How can we deal with this situation, that is happening in Nigeria? And we have to pray also for the muzzled Christians. The muzzled Christians who's got that muzzle over their mouth and they're not talking. Something has to be done about this. People, like, share, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend about Christian Views Shared, and come into the comment section and share your views. God bless you all, and I'll be back with another video very, very soon.